Praise be the Messiah, and today will be a slightly different video yet again. I will be doing a little bit of a rant, a little bit of a chat discussion about my last game, as I'm working on this Thanatar with the Solex Lass. Solex Heavy Lass, I should say. And I expect this one to be for about maybe like 10 minutes long. You know, nothing too crazy. Get some progress done while I'll chat to you about something. Gonna do the base today. It's very simple how I do the base. There's some cork on it. I use the Fireland diorama from AK. Then I use where is it? Voodoo Shade from Army Painter. Then once it's dry, I use GW's Citadel Rizza Roost. And then a dry brush with Screaming Skull, and that's it. And I think they look good enough. So we'll go with Rizza Roost. This is a dry paint, so we will be dry brushing the entire thing. But I was at a small little narrative tournament. I was meant to play 2 games, but I ended up playing up 1. And I want to talk about it because I have learned a couple of things, and the more games I play, the clearer the image of Mechanicum. The clearer the image I have for Mechanicum in 3.0, right? And there's a reason why I'm working on the Thanatar today. There we go. Let's go. I think that'll be good enough. Now, it was a 2.5k tournament. Well, it's keep in mind it's a narrative tournament, right? But 2.5k. I was giving the allegiance of a traitor, even though my army is loyalist, but for the sake of getting the pairings right, I was a traitor, which is fine. Then the first mission was to... Basically, there were 2 objectives, which were civilians, and you had to go and capture and kill them as the heretic. You had to secure them and make them safe as a loyalist. And here's the issue, because loyalists have the control of the objective from the first turn, meaning that they are able to move the objective towards the deployment from the middle of the board. We had the, I think it was Vanguard deployment, and so I've put everything on the line because I only had 2 pieces of terrain, which is just, you know, it's a bit unfortunate, but I didn't mind because I have a lot of long-range firepower. I have a lot of dark cannons. I have the heavy solar legs, you know. So I didn't mind that, and that was fine. But the issue was that my opponent went first, and he immediately began moving the objectives towards his deployment zone. So he could move all 3 objectives 6 inches towards his deployment zone from the middle, which already put a pressure on me, as I had to overextend myself from turn 1. Which was fine, but, you know, it is what it is, I guess. The opponent, because he was a loyalist, he was forced to have D3+1 units in reserve, which he rolled a max 3, so he had to put 4 units in reserve, which he did. And then, you know, the game continues. My Thanatar was in a standoff with his Deredeo, which my Thanatar won at the start of my first turn. I destroyed the Deredeo, not with the Thanatar, but with the Myrmidons. But the Thanatar did some damage to the what's it called? Deredeo, and the Myrmidons finished it, right? But basically, he went first. He moved his 3, I think it was 3 rhinos. 2 of them had tacticals in them. He disembarked them, put them on objective, scored his line, scored his objective points, whatever. And then basically he could attach the objective, because there was a civilian and an independent character, into the unit of the tacticals. So now to get the objective from turn 1, I had to go quick. I had to kill the unit, and then I had to kill the actual token that had a stat line. So basically that meant that I had to overextend. Grant. His first turn, nothing crazy happened. His Daredevil tried to kill my Thanatar. It didn't work out. I returned fire. Didn't work out. We both did 4 wounds to each other. In the second turn, sorry, in my first turn. In his first turn, we did no damage to each other. We were just literally in a Western standoff, right? The Thanatar and they were in a standoff. It was fine. Secure this point, grand. Then my first turn comes along and I push everything forward because I have to, since I'm very slow. I only have Ursarex cohort, but the terrain doesn't favor me, because the objectives are on the other side of the central terrain piece, and they're directly facing the enemy heavy weapon squad with autoguns, and to mention I'm playing against Imperial Fists. My camera is stopping. Okay. So, that meant I had to do something to an overextend, right? But that's fine. I've killed Daredevil with the combined power of the Thanatar and the Myrmidons. I've reduced his tactical squad to 3 models with the combined shooting of my 2 Castellax Destructor Maniples. And my Ursarex moved up behind the central terrain piece. And also should mention that my Talax cohort was in reserve, 9 guys with plasma fusiles. So then his second turn comes in and he rolls for reserves and he gets his first reserve in. And then he fails the second roll, because we had the way it was you would roll as normal, and then if you failed you can roll a 5-up, and on a 5-up you can get a chance to bring the reserve in. But he did bring the first reserve, which was a Spartan tank with Templar Crusaders inside of it and some HQ leader. And he brought it on the flank where I was pushing. And here we come to the first weakness of Mechanicum that I realized. We have absolutely nothing that can deal with a Spartan. Armor 14 is our bane. And good luck to you. Right? The Thanatar shot for 2 turns because I returned fire. And then in my turn I shot at the Spartan and I did 0 wounds. The Darkfire Cannons, they just wouldn't do any damage to it. The Meltas wouldn't do any damage to it. Literally, my second turn, I spent my entire army shooting at the Spartan because I had nothing else in range or nothing else visible, and I did no damage. Now I've had to push my Ursarex into the open, and there was about 6 of them left after his second Spartan came in and shot at them, and some combined firepower of the Rhinos. So, but I had to push the 6 Ursarex alone because otherwise the rest of the army was slagging up behind to get at least 1 objective from him. And I did. They came in, wiped the unit, and got me Vanguard, killed the objective, and then the objective was under my control. And the objective then had 1 wound, because I had to roll how many wounds it had. It had 1 wound and was under my control. Grand. And my Talax cohort dropped in, but he activated his Imperial Fist once per game ability, where he fired the 5-man heavy weapons team with autocannons into my Talax, and he actually left 1 model alive. So he killed 8 out of 9 Talax cohort, which means my drop behind his lines was cancelled, effectively cancelled, and there was literally nothing I could do about it. Now, I never played against Imperial Fists, so I didn't know about this ability. If I knew, I probably wouldn't have put him there in range. I would have put him somewhere else. But the fact was that at the start of his third turn, he had 2 objectives in his terrain piece, in his deployment, underneath his heavy weapons team. The 1 objective that I could contest, my Ursarex cohort pushed it, and they were now well, yes, I got it, but now they were in the open. And as you can imagine, then he turned his heavy weapons on them and wiped them. And that objective was lost to me because the Crusaders came out of the Templars, came out of the Spartan, and they secured the other objective. That was somewhat close to me, right? So that was a problem. Now, I did end up charging his Spartan that had the Templars with my Castellax, but he had defensive weapons, and we did some research, and it turned out that apparently the last cannons, the sponsons, count as defensive weapons. So he fired them, he killed one of my Castellax on the way in, which meant that I couldn't surround his Spartan. I couldn't surround all the access points. And basically, it allowed him to disembark his Templars from within. If I could, if that one model survived and he would block off the last access point, then the Templars would be stuck inside because he couldn't have been able to disengage, and that unit would have just been stuck inside, which would be great for me. But alas, it was just unlucky that it didn't happen, and his sponsons, last cannons, killed the one model that could have done. And then the game proceeded to escalate even further because he had a Tartar squad in the other Spartan that was coming on my flank, and I was basically locked into my little Vanguard deployment zone, as I couldn't push anything forward because if my Talax was dead, my Ursarax was dead, my Myrmidons were too far away, one of my 5-man Castellax units was locked in combat, the other unit was being whittled down by the Spartan, and my Thanatar took 7 wounds, which he healed most of it in one turn, but he was too far away because he was trying to target his Rhinos. And I surrendered at the end of my turn 3, just before his turn 4, because I realized that it was about 14-9. It was his turn. He had all 3 objectives in his deployment zone, and there was literally nothing I could have done to stop him from getting more points in his turn, and I couldn't get any points in my turn. I got the first strike, he didn't. He had more units for last man standing. Neither of us killed the Warlord. None of us had the Lord of War. So I realized that was my first time realizing that we are actually hopeless and overpriced for what we do. Now, yes, we are very tanky. Our units are very tanky, but on the 3.0 is less lethal than 40k, which is good, but it's still very deceptive. Having tanky units is still very deceptive, because all it takes is one good roll in every second game that will happen, that will just wipe your unit off the board. And with how expensive our units are, it's really not good. It's really difficult to justify the cost of the units for their apparent tankiness, because everything that the enemy shot at me was strength 5 or 6, which means he was wounding me either on 4s or on 3s, and also my rolls were not great, but because I rolled my thaumaturgic feedback on one of the Castellax units, and I actually did rolled 3 2s and I killed, or 4 2s, and I killed one of them, right? And I couldn't bring him back, so that was, I for the first time in a really long time, I've been playing 40k a lot. I'm playing 30k now. I played a little bit of Old World here and there. And also I get into Trench Crusade, into Conflict 47. But it was the first time that I actually felt kind of hopeless while playing a game. I felt like throughout the entire game, there was nothing I could have done. I would have got me enough points, and my units felt like they were doing nothing because he had a lot of armor, and even though I had some weapons that could inflict the statuses, he couldn't fail his statuses checks, his subphase status check. He would pass them. So, I mean, I am kinda lost at the moment. I think 3,000 points is a better breakpoint for us than 2.5. I think 2.5 we just can't bring enough toys to deal with the enemy. What else can I say? It's just been disappointing. So it is. I will go quickly over some units on the new recruit. Now, Thanatar Siege Mana Pool is 245 with the Calyx configuration, which I feel like we have to run. Because the Kavas I don't value at all. I don't think it's good. Calyx with the Solex Heavy Lass. On paper it's good, right? 48 inch, 2 shots, strength 10, AP 2, damage 2, ordnance, shock, armor bane. But then when you put this against a Spartan and you need force with armor bane, force to pen it, and then you just don't get any force, it's a real feel bad moment. But I mean, it's a dice roll, right? Sometimes you get both of them, sometimes you get one of them, sometimes you get none of them, right? You should get at least one of them true, but it just so happened that I didn't get any through this game. I feel like even if I did, I wouldn't have been able to kill the Spartan with this guy. So I don't know, 245 for a unit that is very tanky, yes, but it's very 50-50. If it will do one game, it will do something, one game it won't. I don't know if it's worth it. Then we have the Ursarax cohort. Let me just quickly pull them up on the thingy. Shock Assault, right? Yes. Ursarax cohort. I was running a 9-man squad with an alpha, and I was running the claws because they're my marine killers. And they are 235 points. Now, I think that is one of the units whose cost is reasonable. I think at 235 they're tanky enough. They do a lot of damage with the claws, and they can obliterate a unit. But again, they only hit on force. They wound on force, so you'll drop half on hits, half on the wounds. Now they do have 5 attacks, which is good. So with their shots, with their volley shots and stuff, they should kill a tactical blob. Which so far in all of my games they actually have. So, you know, it might be just my luck or whatever, but Ursarax cohort I think is one of the units that is somewhat reasonably priced. Somewhat, I say. Then the next unit is the Talax cohort. I think they're like 285 from off the top of my head. Which I think is somewhat reasonable, but I think they're slightly on the expensive side. I think I would prefer if they were like 20 points cheaper. Now, of course, depends what war gear you run, but I prefer the plasma fusils. Loads of shots, good enough strength, AP 3, damage 1, you know, with breaching. So even if you put them into like armor 2 with the amount of shots, they should get through it. It just was unfortunate that I didn't know about the Imperial Fist's ability, and basically the entire squad got wiped by a bar 1 model. So, you know, there's nothing I could do, but that. Then we come to the vehicles, which I think are absolute fucking garbage. They can inflict statuses, but I don't think it's worth it for the amount of points you pay for them. I actually do not think it's worth it in one bit. The Skitari stuff is alright. Still think also a bit too expensive. The fact that you need to pay 100 points for a marshal that does basically not too much. Except some few very one-trick pony stuff. I don't think that's good enough. I think that's too expensive. The Skitari themselves, I think, are reasonably priced. Could be a bit cheaper, but that's just my opinion. That's just my Mechanicum brain speaking, right? The other thing is, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, what other units? Oh, Myrmidons. Oh my lord. I was running a 6-man Myrmidon, 405 points with Dark Fire Cannons, and a Archmagos. That brought me to about 580 points for the unit, I think. And from what I learned, Myrmidons are great when you have a 2-up armor save or 3-up armor save infantry unit that they can shoot at. But again, like with everything that Mechanicum has an issue with, it's the vehicles. Once a vehicle shows up and the unit just doesn't disembark, the Myrmidons are useless. And that's nearly 600 points that you're paying for a unit that can't do anything. Especially when I looked at the other boards, and if I were to play against literally any other opponent, Myrmidons would be absolutely useless. Ursarax would be useless. Talax would be useless, because there was so much armor on the field. Literally, every army had so much armor that I felt hopeless. There was literally nothing I could have done in that game. In every round, there was not a point where I thought, okay, maybe it will swing my way. No, there was not a single point, especially with the mission not helping, not being in my favor either. There was not a single point where I felt like I could have done something. And as I said, when I look at across the other tables and I saw the amount of armor that's on there, I was like, right, either I need to start bringing 2 Thanatars with the heavy Sol-Lex, whatever, I'm tired. Or, I don't know. I'm feeling slightly lost right now. I did order, what's it called? The Armiger Moirax, and I will be running him with paired, how do you pronounce this one? Paired Gyges, Siege Claws and 2 Irate Cleansers, because that gives him +6 strength, at AP 3 damage 4, Armor Breaker 5 up, Breaching 5 up. That would mean that the Armiger would be strength 13, which means that he would be penning the armor 14 units on a 13, but on a 2-up, right? Because 13, 14, 15, so I would need to roll a 2-up on a d6. So on 2-ups he would be penning them with 4 damage, and armor breaker 5-up. Now it would be only 3 attacks, but a weapon skill 4, but it's still not too bad, I don't think. So it's 3-up and then 2-up. 3-up, 2-up. For 165. Now it is melee, but he is quite quick, so I think that would be good. I'll give him a shot once he arrives. And I've also ordered one more thing. Where is it? I ordered the Arquitor Magisterium, and I will give her Chain Fist. Where is it? Chain Fist. That would bring her... she's strength 5 base, Chain Fist is strength 6. That would bring her to strength 11. With 5 attacks each, -1 for the Chain Fist, 4 attacks each at strength 11. I think that could be another solution. It has also armor break, so... And she has high weapon skill. His weapon skill 6, man. So every 6-up would be a critical hit. Right. I don't know actually how that works against vehicles, but I think that's how it works as well. I'm not sure. I'll need to check it. But yeah, weapon skill 6 at strength 11 with 4 attacks and armor bane. There's damage too, but you know, it's vehicles, so I think that might be an option. So I'll take them, I'll put them in the list, and I'll see how they go. The Thanatar will still be in the list because it is 50-50. It is a casino gun, but we will give it a shot, and we'll see how that will work out in the next game. But yeah, I am feeling slightly down, but you know, it's just one game. We'll see if I can find some other ways of dealing with armor, because armor is fucking everywhere. We have a lot of tools that can deal with infantry, heavy infantry, elite infantry. It's just the vehicles. And I'm now thinking about bringing 2 of the drones, the new drones, and using them basically as rapid strike units that can go in, charge the vehicle, and keep it locked in combat. Because from what we looked, there is no, at least as far as we know, there is no way to disengage from combat unless the unit is killed. So I'm thinking about, it's only 200 points, and if I could lock 2 Spartans quickly in combat, and then use the rest of my army around them to keep them locked in combat, I think that might also be an option. But again, this spent 25 fucking minutes of me yapping. So I'll leave it here. Thanks a lot. See you next one. Boom.